My name is Lisa Bergman. I'm the second horn in the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, and I have been in the orchestra since 2014. There is one piece that I'd say is my favorite thing to play in the horn repertoire, and it is a solo by Franz Strauss, Richard Strauss's father, and it's called Nocturno for horn and piano. And it's just the epitome of why I play the horn. It's just the most beautiful thing to me. In high school, I went to Interlochen for music camp, for summer camp, and a lot of orchestras. It's kind of a funny story. I guess it's a little embarrassing, but I'll tell you. A lot of colleges came through and did auditions, and my mom had told me to audition for Michigan when they came through, and I signed up for it, and I was sick that day. And then Michigan State came through, and I was a high schooler, and I thought it was the same thing. I auditioned for Michigan State, and I got a great scholarship, and had actually been working with the teacher at Interlochen, and it was a good fit. So I went to Michigan State for undergrad. After that, I went to Indiana University for graduate school. I did my master's there, and also started a degree in brass pedagogy, and realized that I was having to study just for one class about 4 hours a day, and I was going to have to choose between being a performer and being a teacher, and I chose being a performer. And I teach as well, but I did not get a degree, a doctorate in brass pedagogy. Jumped in with both feet. That seems to be what I do. When I was in fourth grade, they started band in my grade school, fifth and sixth grade. And in fourth grade, you got to try 2 instruments at the end of the year and choose one. And my music teacher was a horn player, and she thought I had a really good ear for pitch. So she really wanted me to play the horn. And I also was interested in the clarinet. And I tried the horn, and I could make sound on the horn, but I could not make any sound on the clarinet. So I chose the horn. Yeah, I think the horn really does stand out in 2 areas. It can be very heroic. Like there's a lot of horn playing in movie scores. If you go to the movies and there's a big, like the Scottish scenery or Irish countryside, you hear a big horn solo, or the hero of the movie comes over the top of the hill, there's a big horn solo. So it can be very heroic and exciting, and it can also be, it's just such a singing type instrument. It just mimics the voice so nicely, and it's just such a beautiful sound, and that's what drew me to the instrument and still draws me to the instrument to this day. I really enjoy the beautiful sound. Strauss Horn Concerto No. 1 is a great example of the very opening of it is very heroic and exciting and gets your attention. And then it goes into the exposition where it's a very beautiful melodic flowing line. horn section, there's the four main parts are 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's other people in the section that are divided a little differently, but first and third are high horns, known as high horns. Second and fourth are known as low horns. But the interesting part about my job as second horn is I sometimes play in unison with the first horn. I play very high sometimes, especially like John Williams music, Bruckner, I'll often be doubling the first horn. Even Bach, I'll have a lot of high stuff. And then if we play Strauss or Mahler, then or Brahms, then I'm down in the basement. And I like being in the basement, but my job is very, keeps me on my toes, keeps me going back and forth. So I always have to be looking forward to the next week and knowing 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, okay, what am I going to be expected to do? Because you kind of get in the zone with playing high or playing low, and your lips kind of get trained in that area and you feel more comfortable in that area. So I always have to see what's coming up and make sure I'm prepared. Actually, a second horn is, I love the blend. I love the challenge of blending with the first horn. I actually love the challenge of the precision of playing exactly with that person and getting the pitch exactly right. I really enjoy that part of it. I really enjoy the teamwork part of it. And the horn section is definitely a lot of teamwork going on and everybody paying a lot of attention, and it's a lot of support too. I mean, it's not an easy instrument, so you want the people sitting around you to be, you know, supportive and friendly, and it's a great experience when you have that in the section. Well, on the horn, what's tricky is the harmonic series. So the harmonic series, you can play from the lowest note up to the highest note. And as you go up, the space between the notes gets smaller and smaller. The notes up at the top are so close together, and you can often on the horn play almost any note on almost any fingering. You have to have a really good ear to play the horn. You have to really hear the pitch before you play and really focus in on that. And so that's why horns are kind of known for missing more notes sometimes, because there's just a lot of options in there. Right, the horn is a conical, what we call conical. So it means the shape of the bell is more round. The tuba also has that same conical shape. So it's a more, it's a warmer sound that we produce. And we're not directly at you. The horn, we're facing backwards in the orchestra. So we often have to compensate for that by changing our volume, trying to figure out what volume we really should be playing. And we also tend to have to play a little bit earlier than what we're seeing and what the rest of the orchestra is playing, because the sound can be delayed. So that can be very tricky. When the horn didn't have valves, it was called natural horn. So your hand usually sits here on the far side of the bell. But for hand stopping, we're going to close it up to change the pitch because we didn't have any valves. Mozart horn concertos were originally played on natural horn. And so now we play. So, and back then it would sound like. So there was a lot more color in the horn playing then, because it had to be. Sometimes it's really nice because you can hear it on the leading tone. So now still when we play a Mozart horn concerto, we try to go back to how it used to sound and try to use some of the color changes while still playing on open horn, but just keeping it in mind, keeping the history in mind. This is great writing, period, and it's really interesting writing for the audience because it's something different every movement. And it's great writing for the horns. And it's a lot of fun. It's something that when it comes up, it's a little tiring because the brass keep driving, but it's a really fun piece to play. So the first movement, Mars, is the bringer of war, and then it's very military and aggressive, and it's like intergalactic battle, sounding. And then the second movement, Venus, is the calm after the storm. And the horn, the principal horn, plays a beautiful, simple solo at the beginning of it. And it's just very calming and serene. And it sounds that way, but to the principal horn, it can be a little nerve-wracking because you're coming out of nowhere and getting very soft. But we have wonderful principal horns who do it very well. And I will play a little bit of it for you.